order, so everybody will turn their microphones on, please. Let's all stand. Come up, Mr. Todd. This is the pastor of Oakville Baptist Church, Tom Haley. Did I say it right?
Todd, but it's
Todd Haley. And he's going to lead us tonight. He's going to tell you a little bit about the church and where it's at and located.
All right. We're just about a block away from here. Large church there in the corner of Independence. And church was started in 1869. We've been a part of helping other churches get started in this area since the late 1800s. And so God has really used us in this community in a great way. And this community has been a real blessing to us for a long time. So thank you for allowing me to be here, and thank you for asking me.
Thank you for coming.
So, you would pray?
Yes, please.
Dear Heavenly Father God, thank you so much for this time together. Lord, I pray that you be upon this assembly. Lord, I pray that you be upon our leaders. Lord, give them wisdom and guidance in their decision-making process. Lord, we thank you for the way you've blessed us in so many ways to live in such an incredible country. Lord, please continue to protect us from this virus. Lord, I pray that you be with all those that are here. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge.
All right, pledge allegiance, please.
Attention and salute. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Before we get started, I said when we got into things that I was going to start giving an employee of the month. This is one of the hardest jobs I've had to do is pick an employee of the month. Stephen Barnes, would you please come in? I had several suggestions for him and several others. So I weighed them all out, and Stephen came up and as you can tell, he's struggling in, and he worked last night on your roads. And so, Stephen, we appreciate all you do and the work that you have provided over the years. And this is your certificate for the Employee of the Month, and we appreciate it. Yeah, and I'm getting out of the way. Okay. And now we're going to have comments, please.
Roll call first. Actually, we have to roll call first, Mayor.
Okay, call the roll first.
Alderman Mindy Fleshour.
Here.
Alderman John Gibson.
Here.
Alderman James Gill.
Here.
Alderman Stephen McLean.
Here.
Alderman Darby Patrick.
Here.
Vice Mayor Teresa Mock.
Here.
Mayor Pat Stillwell.
Here.
All are present.
Okay. Do we have any comments?
We got to correct the minutes first,
Oh, God, correct
and then
me
the
first.
monthly financial reports, and then we'll get there.
Okay. All right. I want to welcome everybody tonight. We're happy that you came tonight. And if you have any comments in a few minutes, just keep them to 3 minutes, please. And go ahead and do I have an approval and correction of the minutes?
I make the motion.
Do I have a second? I second that. John seconds it. Any visitors' comments?
Go ahead to vote on it.
Oh, better. You can tell I'm new.
It's just a roll call vote, or it's just a voice vote, so all in
A
favor.
voice vote. All in favor say yes?
Yes.
And anybody say no, don't approve it. Okay.
Then we got the monthly financial reports is next.
All right, and do I hear a motion for the
I'll make a
comment?
motion to approve the financial report.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Dorothy second. Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. We'll have now the comments, visitors, please. Go ahead. Stand up, please, and state your name and where you live.
Sandy Beaver, I live in the town of Mount Carmel, and I'd like to thank the mayor and all the board members for giving me a chance for 3 minutes. I was wondering maybe if you just started out with one, where people put trash out alongside the roads, always pick it up. How about a trash can, like where you have a pole, start with one, or a drum, 3, and people like me, it stays pretty clean in my neighborhood. The rest of it, I don't know, but I like it. I mean, I just personally, but I pick it up, I throw your trash as they throw it out, got it right there. And Mount Carmel's finest, if they get to the point where they think they're going to do, they'll get took to jail or whatever. But I really appreciate Mount Carmel's officers always doing the job. I was there, they had the blue lights last month, my house right there, getting somebody. Of course, I couldn't just watch from the windows, so I went outside too. If they just go get them, they tried to get me too. I appreciate them. And I just think it'd be good to see us. We had to start with one. Yes, in my neighborhood, but I pick up about a quarter of a mile now, and it's always pretty clean. Lots of people wave at me, I wave back. So I just like to suggest it, maybe 1 works, 2 works, 3 works, and I know the police officers out Carmel, if it starts, they sure ain't going to be slacking on the job. They'll take that pretty serious. I've seen that personal experience myself.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else? Back in the back.
Garrett White, 421 Old Hickory Circle. I got 2 comments. The first one, I really appreciate you moving the BMA meeting up here. We can get more people in, and we're not socially distanced, but we're better off than we were downstairs. That's the first one.
Thank you.
The second one is, BMA needs to decide if you're going to have a city manager or a governor. If we are, let's continue and lay this thing to rest once and for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Back in the back.
I was here last board meeting, and I wanted to clarify a few things that Mr. Peavy had said. Okay, Mr. Peavy was talking about the engineers, that he said the engineer said the wall wasn't safe, that it was 15 foot behind the building and 20 foot tall. I have photos right here that show that's not true. The wall was less than 5 foot from the building, around 7 foot tall. The city hired an engineer that said that wall went against the International Building Code twice. Probably because the attorney didn't tell that engineer that Mr. Fishner's the one that told him how to build the wall. Okay? Mr. Fishner was the one that actually told him how to build it, and then the attorney didn't know about it. The engineer also stated that there was nothing wrong with the footer, yet that wall, it should measure 96 inches, and it's not. It's measuring 85 inches on one side and 82 on the other. It shows the footer failed. Okay, the same engineer that went out and looked at that said the wall was backfilled with red clay dirt. We have photos showing that there's 57 rock behind that wall, and there's a drain pipe. There is no clay dirt behind that wall. So we didn't want to know who's responsible for hiring this said engineer who lied. Another engineer's report said that the trusses were safe in the building, but we have photos showing that they're coming apart and the building caved in. The building inspector stated in depositions that went to the court that he had an engineer's report saying the wall was safe, or he would have never have let that building go up. We want to see that report. We'd also like to see a report saying that he did a footer inspection, because he says he had nothing to do with that wall. Okay, there is no footer on a post steel building, post frame building. There is no footer, so there has to be an inspection of that wall.
You got a half a minute.
Okay, I want to clarify something. In no way are we blaming the current board members. We are only trying to reach a resolution with the town. I think it's clear that everyone sitting here agrees that these projects that are planned will only help the town prosper in the future. At the last board meeting, Mr. Peavy said the lawsuit was dismissed because the city had done nothing wrong. That is not true. We have papers from Mr. Griffith's lawyer stating otherwise. The lawsuit will continue against the town and the building inspector, and now the attorney and the engineer who put false documents into the court system. We're looking for different avenues to hold these people accountable, but not worse than what's happening with the town. If the town works with Mr. Griffith, we can go after these people who need to be held accountable for what's happened, because the town has lost businesses, tax revenue.
Your time is up. I'm sorry. And I've got a couple of thank yous. Mr. Gene Beavers has.
Is that all the comments?
Oh, yes.
Any other comments?
Any other comments?
Mr. Griffith,
On Mr. Griffith now.
I just got something simple to say. Y'all destroyed my business down here for the last 5 years. And here's another thing y'all don't know. Mr. Pishner put in a letter out to my attorneys and other attorneys that my business in Kingsport's failing. I don't know how to manage my money. He put down my business and everything else in another county. And them two over there had to okay him to do this. So you're the city manager and stuff, and you don't care what your building inspector does?
I've never heard about this before.
That's right. You're the city manager. If he did his...
I'm not the city
But
manager.
he's the city manager. He should know about it. And if
I've
he's
never-
doing something he could get sued for, you are the attorney. You should have stopped him before he...
How can I stop something I don't know is happening, Mr. Griffith? How would I know that he's writing a letter that I've never seen or never heard of? Explain that to me.
You're the attorney.
And
you're going to court.
and
being
what's
sued.
and,
You should know
and what's
what
your
this man's writing on
what's your
paper.
how am I supposed to know that? Explain it to me.
It's called education. You go to court, you go to school, you get an education.
And so that
You know,
that means I
is he
can
is he not an employee of the city?
that means I can monitor him at all times. That makes no
The
sense.
city manager, he don't monitor. He don't have to pay.
I've not heard of this letter.
I've never heard of this before.
This is the lawsuit. He put my business down and my character and everything else in another county after he destroyed me down here because he wants to do favors for his friends, which y'all don't. Y'all keep standing behind the building inspector that's done all these illegal things, and y'all gonna be accountable for it too.
Before we move on, we should address this.
Okay.
The lawsuit has been dismissed completely.
Yes.
No, it ain't.
I'll read you the orders. I have them right here in front of me.
You want to see it? The lawsuit is not.
You have a-
It's been dismissed because it was filed wrong by my attorney.
How is-
My attorney's being sued. And y'all
You've
being
had
sued
your
back.
time, sir.
The
You've had
lawsuit-
your time.
The lawsuit was filed in circuit court. All the parties that have been named in the lawsuit have been dismissed by the court. The only remaining matter in the lawsuit is determining the extent of a counterclaim against Mr. Griffith by, I believe, Line Roofing. Now, whether I misstated the size of the wall or not is immaterial. The court records don't misstate the size of the wall. All the evidence is in the record, in the court. It was in the depositions. Vince testified under oath, Mr. Pishner, if you will, that he didn't tell him how to build the wall. That was not disputed by their lawyer in court. I can read the orders dismissing everyone to you if you would like. Or I can read you the report of our engineer, which was also not disputed. They didn't file anything against our motion. And I'll tell you how I know that. The order states, where is it? The actions of the city of Mount Carmel in this case are governed by the Governmental Tort Liability Act, specifically TCA 29-20-205. As such, the parties stipulated that Mr. Pishner gave advice related to the preparation of the foundation only. Both parties said that in their depositions, including Mr. Griffith. He testified to that fact. Under oath. The city of Mount Carmel attached the report of Paul Tucker, P.E., who concluded that the problem with the retaining wall was not related to the foundation. That is the report I'm holding in my hand here, which was filed with the court. Since no countervailing proof was provided by James Griffith Jr. to refute the same, he didn't provide any proof to the court that the wording of the attorney or the engineer, that his report was in any way inaccurate. So since no countervailing proof was provided by James Griffith Jr. to refute the same, the city of Mount Carmel negated an essential element of the plaintiff's claim. And the city of Mount Carmel is entitled to summary judgment on all issues pertaining to the stop work order issued as a result of the retaining wall. Moreover, pursuant to TCA 292205, the court finds that Mr. Pishner, in his capacity as the building inspector for the city of Mount Carmel, issued a hold on trusses until he received a manufacturer's letter. Once he received a satisfactory letter from the truss company, the hold on any materials was released. As such, the court determines no liability could be imposed on the city of Mount Carmel for disputes regarding the trusses. It is hereby ordered, adjudged, and decreed that the city of Mount Carmel's motion for summary judgment is granted, and the city of Mount Carmel, Tennessee, is hereby dismissed from the above captioned lawsuit. He can say that the lawsuit is still pending, that they're going to sue, but it's not factual. The town has been proven in a court of law to have done nothing wrong with respect to Mr. Griffith's building. I'm very sorry for him that his building is in a state of limbo and disrepair, but it's not the town's fault. And his attorney can write a letter that he can hold up back there, but that doesn't govern what the court does. The court has made its ruling, and it's made it repeatedly as to the town of Mount Carmel, dismissed on summary judgment. As to Jeff Kilby, dismissed on summary judgment. As to Line Roofing, dismissed on summary judgment. And finally, as to Mark Richards, the final defendant, dismissed on summary judgment. The case is over. I'm just, I'd love to read it. I mean, it doesn't have any bearing.
Attorney that says y'all will be sued again.
We
This right here,
need to move on.
this is a statement saying that he had an engineer saying that wall was safe, or he would have never gave a building permit.
So-
We need to move on.
They've had their opportunity, and it's passed.
Moving on, because we've got a long night tonight. I'd like to welcome Mr. Gene Beavers. He owns Gene's Barber Shop and Shave Parlor here in Mount Carmel. He just opened up, did you say in December? Okay, in December. And we want to welcome you with your new business, and hopefully we'll get some Jeff's video on this, and people outside the city here, out in the city, they will hear it and others hear it, and hopefully you get some business from it.
Well, I appreciate it.
I want to also thank the hot dog hut. They're just waiting. They're ready to open, and they're just waiting on the inspector to come in and inspect it. So I appreciate that. And we'll move on to the old business. We have the old business. Do I make a motion? Go on to the new business?
Well, we have to do the committee appointments, right?
Oh, yeah, new business.
In old business.
Okay, the old business, we have to have some appointments here, and the first appointment is the Joint Recreation Committee, and those who I've appointed is Jeff Gray, Mindy Fleshire, and myself, and Stephen McLean has finished his time up because he took Eugene's time that Eugene Eugene Christian was on the board. And I'm going to pass this around right here to everybody. Pass it on. And right here it says that there are 9 commissions, 3 each from each municipality, and there are 9 commissions, and each of those are from represents the municipality, and that's the 3 cities. 3 from Churchill, 3 from Mount Carmel, 3 from Orangeville. And it's the first thing it says, and if anybody wants to read this, I've got several copies. It says, is duly appointed by the mayor of each represented city. So,
Mayor,
I've appointed these 3.
Is that a copy of the bylaws?
Right here?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think I probably need to speak on this as well.
Yeah.
I've spoken with the city attorney in Churchill, who the bylaws actually say will serve as the legal advisor for the commission. And he and I don't think that the bylaws control the appointment in this situation. The actual interlocal agreement, which the town's entered into, is the contract that creates the Joint Rec Commission. And this was back in 2011 that the interlocal agreement was entered into. And it hasn't been changed. It was adopted by ordinance in 2012. Let's see if I can get a date for you there.
It ended June the 3rd.
Yeah. So June of 2012, we passed an ordinance adopting the interlocal agreement. So what it actually says is the commission, this is under organizations, section 2. The commission shall be composed of 9 members. The board of mayor and aldermen of each participating municipality shall appoint 3 residents to the commission to serve for a term of 4 years or until their successor is appointed. Now, it goes on down to state that vacancies on the commission, whether by death, resignation, or change of residence, shall be filled in the same manner as prescribed in C above, which is what I just read, only for the unexpired term. So, while I am in agreement that Alderman McLean filled former Alderman Christian's remaining 2-year slot.
Right here it is.
Right. The board is actually the one that appoints the members to the rec commission. So, in the past, the way we've done this is the mayor comes up with all the committee appointments, places them in front of the board, and then the board votes on them. I mean, I don't know that that's, semantically, I guess you could say it is somewhat different than the board appointing them. It is and it isn't. I think that the bylaws, there's clearly, as I've evidenced, a disconnect between the interlocal agreement and the bylaws. And I don't know why that is. I didn't draft these bylaws. In fact, I had to hunt just to find all this stuff. But the controlling document is going to be the contract. So the board's going to make the appointment. Now, how you all determine that you want to do that is up to you. You could take the list that the mayor's provided and vote on them. You could vote on each person individually if you'd like. And you can then decide if that's satisfactory. But that is the way that this has to operate. The board has to be the one that makes the appointment. So that's my unfortunate legal analysis for some, and not unfortunate for others. It just depends, I guess.
Do I have a motion to pass this?
Let me throw my 2 cents in before we go this. I'm not just trying to dispute what's on here, but I served on the recreation committee for years. One of the roughest jobs you'll ever have when there is actual ball games going on. There was 1 alderman from Mount Carmel, 1 alderman from Churchill The other positions were filled by people in the community. You could not be a coach and serve on that committee.
They changed
Or if you
that.
No, they changed it back, they changed it back. How did they?
They're going back to no coaches. If you're on the rec committee, you won't be allowed to coach.
You could be assistant coach. And,
Now, he told me just the other day that, they had changed it to, that you can be because they're having such a hard time getting, coaches.
Now they're not, that's why they're changing it back, now they're not. And also they recommend for us not have our mayor on the board because
That's a
everybody else has
recommendation.
an alderman and 2 public people. They said, don't look right for us having our mayor there, and they're not having their mayor. Church here don't have a mayor on there, neither does Springfield. They don't feel comfortable with us having a mayor and an alderman and 1 citizen. They recommend.
Well, we haven't been with them yet.
I'm just going over the phone call I got today though. I was just done my
Who
research.
called you today?
I talked to the chairman of the board, directly. And they recommend us a key citizens and an alderman. That's what they recommend. That way be fair for everything else.
So, John, what did you recommend to go by? The bylaws or
The contract, the interlocal agreement controls. The board makes the board. I mean, it says very explicitly, the BMA of each participating municipality shall appoint 3 residents to the commission to serve for a term of 4 years or until their successor is appointed.
and
So
one shall be?
it doesn't say anything about who they have to be. There's no statement as to that effect.
And what I gave you the other day, it said that.
Yeah, but that was I think that was something different though.
And only one could be, I think it stated as an employee or staff or employee.
A staff employee of each participating municipality may be designated to serve as an ex officio non-voting member of the commission, is what the contract says.
Right. If you're an alderman, you can't be an officer on the committee.
I don't know that you're necessarily a staff member if you're an alderman, though.
You're not.
You're a governing body member.
But I mean, it don't matter to me. I just wanted it done by the rules.
Right.
I wasn't trying, which.
Well, and that's why I looked it up, and I mean,
And if I may ask, when did Eugene's 4-year term end?
It goes by,
He was-
the
he
time
was-
that you're voted president and to the next president.
So he was-
So
he
it's
was-
4 years.
he was put in 2016, 2017. So when you came on in 2019, that would have been 2 years.
So he was on there.
What about Mr. Mock?
That I don't know.
That-
I have no
he
idea
was the
about that.
same. It goes by president election.
Hmm.
But here's the problem that, I mean, hard to say, it really don't matter to me, it's just a smack in the face, and I went to the meeting, they told me I wasn't on anymore. But, if all 3 cities appoint an alderman and a mayor or 2 aldermen, your officers of the committee is already decided. You've only got 3 left because you can't be on the city council and be a member of, or an officer on the committee.
Yeah.
Is that how you interpret it, John? That was
Well-
what my experience was the years I served. If you, as he said, as an alderman, I wasn't supposed to be the chairman.
Right.
Yeah, chairman.
Yeah, but who's going to represent Mount Carmel?
Well, they have a chairman. We don't have a chairman here. They have
Yeah.
a
So the
chairman.
bylaws do say no officer may serve for more than 2 years consecutively in the same office, nor shall an officer be an elected official representing any of the municipalities as to avoid conflict of interest. So the bylaws back up what y'all are saying. The bylaws need to be tweaked, obviously, since they disagree with the document creating the commission. But I don't think we should blatantly violate them when there's not a disagreement. We have to take the portions that are incongruous and determine what controls. For things that aren't spelled out in the contract, I think the bylaws would control. So you wouldn't have governing body members on the, whatever it was called, on the They can't be officers. So.
Right.
So.
They cannot be the chairman.
If you're the same as Darby, I mean, if you're wanting to coach or be involved in the rec part of it, which I usually am, and, you know, at the last time we was down there, which I talked to Chris Christian too, Dennis, Mayor Churchill is wanting them to go back to that you can't be on the committee and coach, so I wouldn't be interested in it anyway.
Well,
And if
let me
anybody
ask
that's
you
wanting to
something.
do this, if they're wanting on this committee, you better think about that, because I'm pretty sure that it'll be voted on the first meeting they have.
Well, let me ask you something. What gives Dennis Steele the right to make these decisions without the other two mayors?
Well, that's something I think that we need to do at our next workshop, is look into this park and rec thing. I mean, we give $66,000 a year toward this. If you read into it, it says that the town will be billed at cost. But from what I can find or do, Mike might be able to share some on this, we just pay that amount. The rec league does not do a budget that I can find.
They send us a bill.
I'm going to say Churchill runs
Well, I just know that
different than Mount Carmel.
well, since I've been on here, I've signed 2 checks going to them.
Now, I would like to know
Well,
where
you know,
the money's going to, since there's no sports going on, where's the money going to then? What's this paying for? I mean,
Well,
there's
that's,
no coaches right now.
that's probably,
look
you
in
need to go
our,
to a meeting and ask them.
if you look in our budget, I think this is right, it's $46,000 goes toward the director's wage, and we are paying 40%. They is $20,000 goes to, from what I can find out, is equipment. Nobody has a spreadsheet of what's bought, what's spent, what money we give, from what the time I was on there that I could find out, goes directly into Churchill's general fund.
This is weird, since there's no games going on and nothing, and we're still paying this much money.
We'll
That
go
was-
to the next meeting they have and bring that up.
That was a big complaint I had in the softball, baseball, a lot of safety equipment looked like something come out of the budget. We had to tape knee guards on, we had to take Velcro and run around just to keep the shin guards and stuff on the kids. And for that type of money, I don't think we should have to do that.
Wait a minute, you cannot make any comments until the end, please.
But you know, Churchill and Mount Carmel both supposedly put in the same amount of money, and Burgonsville comes in at a 20%.
Yes, that's right.
So,
We pay the same amount as Churchill.
and come March, next month, I think the next one will be a 1-year anniversary of the rec league not doing anything.
Is that something that we can put on the, kind of put on the next workshop to kind of get this vote going and get the appointments going, but look at the direction to be sometime in the workshop in the future? Because that's, we're totally getting sidetracked from appointments, and I know we still got a long way to go, so, I make the motion that we approve it as written.
We have a
Do I
motion
have
on
a
the floor.
second? You second it?
What's the motion? To approve.
Approve it as read, as it is right now.
Would we like to do a voice vote or a call?
Yes.
I'm sorry, what'd you say, Mike?
We'd like to do a
Roll call.
call vote. Is there any further discussion on it? The motion is to approve as presented. Alderman Mindy Fleshauer,
Yes.
Alderman John Gibson,
Yes.
Alderman Jim Gillum,
Yes.
Alderman Stephen McLean,
No.
Alderman Darby Patrick,
No.
Alderman or Vice Mayor Teresa Mock,
Also, yes.
Mayor Pat Stillwell,
Yes.
Alderman Jim Gillum.
No.
Fast, isn't it?
Passes.
Now, as I understand, that was just for the rec committee, so we still have to do the planning commission.
Okay.
Who's new on this, if you don't mind me asking?
What?
Who's the new appointees on this?
Oh, on the board, for the recreation?
No, the planning commission.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I've got all of these, but we still need a one person outside the city, that, has to be in our zoning, but they cannot be in the city. So, well, that's one of them. We have to have two. So, I'm on there. Ed Montgomery, he's an engineer.
Is he new to it, or was he a previous member?
He's a new member. Then you got Gary Traylor. You're sitting right out there. Gary White is the chairman still. Would you stand up, Gary? Please. He was the chairman. Don Carter is returnee. He's the secretary. Mindy Fleshire, Vanessa Green, Alan Green, and the one outside the city is Gary Edens. And we need one more outside the city.
What's the perimeter for outside the city? Like what areas?
Well, I do know it goes like up to Allendale. It has to be,
County.
yes, county.
In our urban growth boundary.
Okay.
So that's
Well,
what
the
they,
only
so if
thing-
y'all know anybody, if you know anybody, Stephen, it's,
The existing members is, Mr. White, Mr. Taylor, you're new, right?
I'm Nick Johnson.
Don Carter, is that the only two
that's returning.
okay?
Thank you. Do I have a motion to pass these? To accept this?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to accept as written.
And do I have a second? All in favor? Well, I guess we have to go to roll call on this one too.
You can do a voice vote.
Okay, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All in favor say no.
No.
We have one no.
Yes, it passes.
Passes.
Okay, we'll move on. So, we have changed the, what's supposed to be done first, so. John?
Oh, yeah, we were going to get a motion to suspend the rules and bring an item up at the beginning of we're going to move a couple items around so that we can discuss some of the sewer issues first. So we'd move item.
Hold on, how about the rest of the committees? When are we going to find out about them? We've got more committees we haven't done yet.
It's not to me.
We won't be going to vote on them yet.
Well, we thought we'd do it next time.
I'm just saying the agenda of committees is all I'm saying. I didn't say next time, just said committees. We got a bunch of committees we gotta put out. This is just not one committee, we got a bunch of committees need to be built. And there's a lot of people waiting to be on committees.
Which one are you looking at, Darby? You looking at the old?
Well, I'm looking right here, it said, new business, discussion, approval of committees.
Oh, I see where you're at now. Okay.
We've got like 20 or 30 committees, I think.
Yeah, we've got a whole lot of committees.
We can
But
wait.
they don't meet a lot, and I didn't bring it up here.
Yeah,
He
it's
is on
committee.
it.
Needs to be voted on.
Because there was gonna be so much on it.
We got elected in November, and this February, going on February next month. We
Well,
still haven't.
well, I'll go down and get them before we move on, because there's a lot to do.
Do you need a motion to suspend the rules to be able to move it around that we're waiting on here?
Well, if we're still on committee appointments, then no.
I'm sorry.
So
Are
it's,
we doing committee appointments better?
if you
They're gonna be resolved.
if they're ready to be voted on, then I.
Okay, let me run down and get something. I'm sorry. We'll probably just do it tonight.
Take a brief recess.
And,
You
so,
said you could, but you didn't have to.
she said
I
that.
was in there with you, you said you could, but you didn't have to be.
No, she said she
No,
said
I
the
was
mayor
there
is
too. I was
usually,
there too.
whatever, Darby. So, but anyway, let me get this back on. Housing Authority, Mayor Pat Stillwell, thank you too. Don Taylor, John Gibson, Ed Montgomery, who's an engineer, Vanessa Green, Darby Patrick, Mark Spencer, Mindy Fleshauer, Alan Green, Pete Horton, and Gary Traylor. Do I have a motion to accept that one?
I make a motion on that.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
Any further discussion on that? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Okay. Human Relations, Title VI Committee. Mayor Stillwell, Alan Green, Chief Kenny Lunsford Jr., Chief Jason Byington, Chris Spencer, Steve Epperson, Vanessa Green, Darby Patrick, John Gibson, Mark Spencer, and Mindy Fleshauer. These are the people that have asked me to be on these committees. Okay?
What'd you say that committee was? I missed that.
Human relations.
Human Relations. It's Title VI Committee. Do I have a motion to accept it?
I got a question.
Okay.
Why does one person need to be on so many committees?
I don't know.
Shouldn't you break it up? Shouldn't you break it up and give
you
it
gotta have
someone
people
else?
to volunteer. And I ask and ask and ask.
Don't look at me because I ain't volunteering. I'll work
I
that
know,
long
that's
before
what that's
volunteer.
why I didn't ask you, that's why I didn't come to you. So, cause you made your loud announcement.
I'm going with that.
Well, I know, but see, you made your loud announcement the last time Chris Jones made them, you said you didn't want to be on them. Right?
Right.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to accept these?
I make a motion.
Mindy makes the motion. Any seconds?
I'll second it.
Who seconds that?
Darby.
I mean, you don't have people out here knocking on your door saying, hey, I want to be on a committee. It's hard to get people. So
Vote.
when I had the,
We
when
can
I
vote
made
on
the
that.
announcement-
We can vote on that one.
Vote on that one, okay. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Now, anybody say no? Okay. The Sewer Committee, Pat Stillwell, Ed Montgomery, who is the engineer, Walter Klein, Darby Patrick, Chris Spencer, Mindy Fleshauer, Steve Epperson, there's several of these that's returning. Vanessa Green, Don Taylor, John Gibson, Gary Traylor, Mark Spencer, and Alan Green. I have a motion to accept these.
Who's the chair? Steve's still chairman on that, I think.
What, honey?
Yeah, he's still.
Steve Epperson, he's a returnee. Klein is a returnee. Don's a returnee.
I'm returning.
Mindy's a returnee, yes. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Anybody second it?
I'll second it.
Vote.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those that's not? Okay. Disability Access Committee. Okay, here we go. Lee McClellan. Where you at?
McMillan.
It's McMillan.
Oh, McMillan. Oh, okay. McMillan. Gary Traylor, Darby Patrick, Vanessa Green, me, Pat Stillwell, Alan Green, Vince Pishner, John Gibson, and Mindy Fleshauer. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Any seconds?
I'll second it.
This is not an easy thing to do, I can tell you all right now.
We got to vote on that one.
Vote, okay. All in favor say yes?
Yes.
All say no, anybody say no? Okay, the beer board. This is people's favorite, some of them. Pat Stillwell, Mindy Fleshauer, Darby Patrick, Jim Bear. Jim, where you at? Okay. John Gibson, Gary Traylor. Raise your hand. Chief Kenny Lunsford, and Alan Green. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion on that.
So I'll second that.
Okay.
Got a vote.
Got a vote. Golly. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed say no. Okay, pass. Business Development Committee. Pat Stillwell, Ed Montgomery, Engineer, Mark Spencer, Vanessa Green, Mindy Fleshauer, Darby Patrick, Pete Horton, Gary Traylor, Chris Spencer, Alan Green, and John Gibson. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, the last is Parks and
We gotta
Recreation. Vote. Gosh. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
All say no. Anybody say no? Okay. All right, Parks and Recreation. Mayor Pat Stillwell, Mindy Fleshauer, Jeff.
We've already done.
Right.
We've already done Parks and Rec.
Oh, okay.
Where's the, park committee at?
Well,
Fire Committee.
Park committee too, what's in it?
that's under, the, what
Say-
did we put that under? And they said they didn't need it anymore.
The Parks Committee?
Well, there
Not the
was,
parks.
there's discussion, there's been no appointments made to that. There's discussion whether or not the board would wish to continue it.
Because they didn't need, they've only met one time in 2 years.
I think we need a committee, I think park needs all the help they can get.
But they get a lot of help.
What about our Parks Committee?
Yeah,
Our local Parks Committee?
We voted on
That's
it.
the one
No,
you
it
skipped. Yeah, it's not the Parks and Rec, it's just the Parks Committee.
Well, that, we call it Parks and Recreation.
No,
There's
there's
Parks
two.
and Rec, and
There's
then
two
there's
separate.
Parks.
So, that was the way it was given to me, Parks and Recreation, so.
You did a park, you had, because I know Darby and I had talked to you about wanting to be on the Parks Committee.
Okay, and the recreation, what's the difference? The
Recreation's the joint.
Effort to park, that's what it pertains to.
Yeah.
What's the recreation?
The Parks and Rec is for the interlocal agreement with the other towns. The Parks
Okay.
Committee's for
So
our
we
part.
need a recreation?
No, honey.
Oh, we don't need that then,
The
okay.
parks is actually just a park up at the town.
Okay, we've already passed that. So,
No.
okay.
No, we haven't.
No, we haven't.
We're not?
That's the one that needs to be read. and
The,
we vote on
Okay.
that one.
this is the ball teams, this right is the whole
For
tournament.
our, this is just our parks.
Our parks.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that, Lord have mercy. Okay, the parks, up in anything that takes, like,
The town's park. Yeah.
okay. All right, Pat Stillwell, Mindy Fleshauer, Jeff Gray, Jim Bear, Darby Patrick, John Gibson, Vanessa Green, Alan Floyd, and Jason Salyers, and Josh Klein.
I'll make that motion to pass that.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Now we got all that stuff done.
Well,
Got
who
that.
makes the motion for the fire department have one committee, now, do we vote on that, or who votes on that?
the board would have to decide if they didn't want to have the committee. I mean, it's not been brought up in that respect, but I would anticipate it would be a board decision.
Yes.
And that you'd probably want input from the fire department. I don't know. I mean, that is just my
Chief,
best guidance.
what do you think? Do we, we only had one meeting on that before.
Yeah, let's put that in the strategic plan. Let's talk about that.
Yeah,
That's a
but
new
then
business.
also-
Let's talk about that new business. We still need a vote for that last board. So,
On this one?
yes, that last one.
All right, do I have a motion?
We already have the motion and second on the
Okay,
floor.
How many people are on that list, Mayor?
Population of Mount Carmel.
11.
So
It
there's
has to be an odd number,
it says our code says there should be 9 members.
9 members.
Yeah. To the Parks Commission, it says the mayor serves as an ex officio member. There shall also be 2 aldermen appointed by the board to serve as ex officio members. So the board should vote on those. The remaining members are appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the board. So,
And that's the parks, right?
yes, that's correct. Not the Parks and Rec, but the one we just did.
Okay. Well, we've got Jason Sayers is a employee,
Okay.
and,
Just read the names to me and I'll tell you what we need to do.
okay, me, Mindy, Jeff Gray, Jim Bear, Darby Patrick, John Gibson, Vanessa Green, Alan Floyd, Jason, and Josh Klein.
Since there can only be 2 aldermen, I'll come off that one so John and Darby can sit on it.
Okay, so then we need to cut one more name off of it.
She's ex
Okay,
Does she
we'll
count
cut Mindy
towards the
out
9
that
if
one
she's
then.
ex officio?
And cut Vanessa
It
Green.
doesn't say, so I'm assuming
Should be
yes.
okay with
When you read it. 1 and 2.
that. Has to be odd, right?
It just has to be 9.
Do I have a motion? We done had a motion, but now we've got to do it again, I guess, since we,
Yes, I make that motion. Yes, changes we got there.
okay. And do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. I see it there.
All in favor?
All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Anybody say no? Sorry about the confusion tonight. Okay, we'll move on.
All right, so now, as I'm sure everybody knows, there's been some discussion about potential issues we might have had this week with respect to potential allegations of sunshine law issues and things of that nature. I would ask that we, since all of these issues revolve in some way around the sewer plant, that we move the discussions that would pertain to the sewer plant to the front of the meeting so that I can go ahead and address the sunshine law stuff right off the top. So we would need, in order to do that, we'd need a motion to suspend the rules so that we can reorder the agenda.
Yeah, I'll make that motion. We suspend the rules to that reorganization.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Wait, who is it?
So we're going to move the dump truck. Oh yeah, we need to vote on that. Sorry. My apologies.
All in favor, can we do it that way, or do we have to, all in favor say yes?
Yes.
Anybody opposed, say no. Okay, go ahead.
All right. So what we'll do is we'll move E and F to the beginning. So, I got word earlier this week that there might have been a meeting set up by Alderman Mock with other aldermen and the former sewer plant director, Mr. Fred Arnold. And because I wanted to make sure that we didn't have any issues, I called Alderman Mock and we spoke, and we agreed that it would probably be a good idea not to do that because, meeting about an issue that will 100% come before the board, I think would be a sunshine law violation, and I didn't want that to occur. Or I wanted to at least avoid that if at all possible. I've handed out a letter to everybody that explains the way the sunshine law functions. The the goal of the Sunshine Law, and it's in the letter there, is to ensure that there's no secret meetings, that the public can trust that all of the public's business is being carried out, in public in front of everyone, with public notice being given so that everybody is assured there's no backroom deals or, smoke-filled rooms in the back where people are making policy. So the meeting didn't happen, and I talked to a number of other aldermen who had been contacted about it.
Can I ask you something?
Go ahead.
There was a meeting?
No, there was no meeting.
There was going to be a meeting?
Well, that was my understanding. So
I wasn't invited.
well, it wasn't an official meeting, and that's why we determined that it would be best to not do that. So the Sunshine Law, it's more than just meetings, though. It's also phone calls and text messages. It's emails. Reply all to an email could be considered a Sunshine Law violation. A lot of these things likely would be very minor. And the cure for a Sunshine Law violation is to take whatever was said in a private setting and then say it again in a public setting. Now, since we didn't have the meeting, there's no need to do that aspect of it. But it's my understanding that Alderman Malky made some papers. Is that correct?
No, let me explain what happened. Because the town is going to be confronted with a major decision about the sewer plant, I have been trying to gather as much information and become as knowledgeable as possible about the operations of the sewer plant, the cost of what repairs might happen. I have talked to Gary Lawson, Fred Arnold, Jim Hurd, Steve Epperson, MTAS, TDEC, and the boys at the sewer plant. I asked Fred Arnold if he would be willing to come to a meeting. I did not know that people were not going to be allowed into the meeting, did not know that the engineer was going to be there that night and give us information. I don't have the knowledge that I feel like I need to have, nor do I think the rest of these people on the board do. I have been trying my best to become knowledgeable about the sewer board. There are people here who have not demonstrated that they want or are trying to find out like I am. I asked Fred if he would be willing to meet me after work to talk to me. I called a few people that I thought might want to know what he has to say about how the thing works. These people, and I called MTAS lawyer. She said I was not guilty, that as long as it is fact-finding, as long as there is no deliberation. I told the lady there would be no deliberation. Everything comes down to the dollar. We will make our decision for this town the best that we can according to what it will cost us. I personally want to be able to understand what I'm looking at. I want to have an educated opinion the best that I can before I have to vote on something that's going to cost this town.
Well, and I think that's an important point, that deliberation and discussion is the key issue.
There was not going to be, because nobody knows the dollar amounts, John. You know that.
No, I understand.
I'm just saying,
but
this is just uncalled for.
Any kind of discussion that could be interpreted as deliberation, even if it's not intended that way, could get the town in trouble.
Yeah.
And the problem, and it's in the letter that I provided to you, is that these Sunshine Law violations, like I said, some are very minor, but the repercussions can be very serious.
According to how people want to misconstrue what you're trying to do. Yes.
Well, I understand.
And the deliberations. Just like I understood what that lawyer was trying to tell me. She said that these meetings could create problems if we started talking among ourselves and trying to make a decision.
Right.
No decision going to be made till we know the dollar amount.
Right. Well,
the engineer, let me add something here. We had a DMA planning meeting the month before he came, and I said in the meeting that the engineer was going to be here. Mike had gotten in touch with him, and because she was going to bring it up that meeting, and I said we had so much on us, we would plan that, not this past meeting, but the meeting before. And so the engineer was supposed to come and explain to us what was going on. And
let me interrupt a minute, Pat. I did not understand that engineer was going to show up. I thought eventually we would have papers or a report from the engineering firm. These papers that the man gave us, did you read them and did you understand some of the terminology?
I understood what he was saying, that we need to work on this there.
Okay, well, before we get too far in the weeds, that the most grave consequence of a sunshine law violation could be that the action that you take at the board level, that somebody sees if you have an allegation of sunshine law violation. For instance, if the town made a major vote about sewer, and then the town was accused of having a open meetings law, which is the technical term, violation, the vote could be nullified. And the town could end up, putting itself in a very precarious position, especially given, the magnitude of some of the decisions that the governing body makes. Now, I understand that, and we talked about this, and I said, even if there's no nefarious intent, you're not trying to get together and scheme, that any stray comment that somebody hears could be determined to be a violation. And I'm not trying to point any fingers. I was provided with some papers that Alderman Mock made. And do you know these?
That is what?
Okay.
That is what?
And it's my understanding that, and I'll get through it and then we can address it. It's my understanding that members of the board got these papers. Is that correct?
No, I gave it to them. I had papers to bring tonight for
Right.
Pat and Jim and Mindy.
Okay.
I did not bring them in because I don't feel like they want to know.
Well, since they were given outside of a public setting,
yes, I do too.
we need to go through them, because the questions that I read here, I spoke to MTS as well, could be interpreted to be deliberation. So,
well, that wasn't from me. That was what Fred put on there. We didn't even discuss that.
Right.
He drew on the back of mine the plant layout. I want to know how the thing works. I want to know when they say.
No matter what they discuss, what you discussed with Fred.
I didn't even read them.
But if these papers were distributed to other board members, we have to go through them. We have to.
But they was discussed with nobody but a citizen of the town and an alderman.
But the papers were given. The papers were distributed from an alderman to another alderman, and so we have to go through them. I know that it's not.
I got one, but I ain't looked at it.
I didn't look at it either. I was sitting there and I didn't look at it.
Well,
John, you know what my position is on this? Somebody's just trying to stir the pot up. If it was my suggestion, I'd take this piece of paper right here, wad it up, throw it in the damn garbage can.
well, the court's.
That's what it amounts to.
The problem is the court's not going to wad the law up and throw it away, Alderman. And I can't help that.
I understand that, but that'd be hard to prove.
It wouldn't be hard to prove. People were given the papers.
There's physical evidence of it right
there's
there.
physical evidence. There's copies of it.
Okay, go ahead and go over it so we'll know what's on.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's not my document. So whoever, if y'all want to talk about it, just run down the list for us. It appears to be, because I'm not the one that discussed it or distributed it, so it's not. I can't cure the violation.
Where'd the paper come from?
From Fred Arnold. He wrote out those things. He said that people need to know this information. But we didn't talk about it. I didn't even read it.
And I don't see anything wrong with that. He's
Who gave it
not on
out?
the board or nothing.
I did, Pat. I told you I had your copy and his and hers in the car. It was the idea for Fred to be there was to draw out the lines that he did. I didn't ask for all that stuff he put on there. But he says the people on the board need to know that stuff. I don't know what. Like I said, I didn't read it. All I wanted to know was what he could tell me about the sewer lines and the pipes.
Well, I guess, did anybody read it?
I haven't got it.
Okay.
Did you read it?
Make it public, and that should solve it.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've got a diagram here of the sewer system, right? And there's 25 questions on the side. How much sludge in the plant? How many tons of sludge was hauled out in 2020? Why do you not have a dump truck? And in parentheses, unheard of. Why has the design of the plant been changed? How many, it looks like it says blows. Does it take to run plant? Are digesters full? How often does belt press run? Have you viewed logbook at plant? Why was the primaries not put back on line way designed? Why was secondary clarify not been put back online? What projects have been completed in the last 4 years? How many grants have we received? Why did we switch residential pumps? Who is salesman? And there's an asterisk, and then in parentheses it says uncle. What is head pressure on new pumps? And then there's a dash and it says 50. Can you provide curve on new pumps? Or I think it says curve. Do you know why F1 were chosen? And then in parentheses, or in quotes, and in all caps and underline, it says by the board, for emphasis. How many pumps do you order at a time? What cost on that? Do you realize we have MTAS plus TAUD to do what you paid $25,000 to $30,000 for? They have no financial interest. Do you realize before you came here, $2.75 million was received in grants? Yours is zero. Is city meeting state regulations on sludge? Do you understand what it takes to remove sludge from plant? Do you realize sewer plant has to have dump truck? Was residential pump change botted out? So then we've got another map here, diagram I guess of the plant, and then the last document that I was told was distributed was a text message. It was a screenshot from a text message from former city administrator Gary Lawson, where he says, we annexed 5,000 feet from 11W to the river. Mount Carmel was supposed to be deeded 9 acres by Congress, but we never received a deed. Joe May was working on it when Frost fired him. So, just so everybody knows, that's the information the board was given.
Let me ask you this. The map you got there.
Yes.
The guy, I don't know him personally. I've never met him. He used to work at the sewer plant. He knows where every line in there. Mm-hmm. I guess Teresa will probably tell me more about what he knows than I can because I've never met him. But I don't see anything that is hurting anything. Matter of fact, I think it's good information.
It's not whether it's good information or not. It probably is good information. It's the fact that it was given out to board members by a board member, whether it was created by that board member or not, outside of a public meeting, and it touches very deeply upon a matter of public concern that the board will make large votes on in the future. That's the point. And
Now, I was up there the day that the inspector came up there. I did go up there when you say I wasn't interested.
No, I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
So,
I know
I
it was when I was up there.
I just wanted to get that cleared up right now, and
let me say this, John. I was trying to share the information so I couldn't be accused of doing something in secret.
No, I understand.
But I want everybody here because I've been accused wrongly, and I'm just really distraught about it.
Right. No, I understand where your motives were, and that's not mine. I just want to make sure that we
I've been accused of stuff too, so just let it go. We'll be back.
that we air these things out so that we don't potentially, and to impress the importance of it on everybody. Because, we can't, the board can't call each other and talk about votes. They can't discuss how votes are going to happen. That's all a violation. And it could be very serious. And honestly, the town has been, for several years now, trying to help its reputation, right? And nothing is going to damage that reputation worse than if the public can't have faith in the actions of the board. From an integrity of the decision-making standpoint, that they know everything that's going into the decisions.
Well, that's what I'm trying to
Right.
do.
And
I've given, well, no, wait a minute. I want you all to see this cost me over $200 to make for these people. Over $200 out of my pocket. I gave Gary Traylor one because he wanted to be an alderman. I gave Jim Bear to be one. This is going to be the most major thing that happens to this town since we voted in the sewer to begin with. My intentions are nothing but honest and sincere and trying to get all of the information I can to make an educated guess as to what we need to do. None of us know the future. We plan the best we can by being educated. That's all I'm guilty of doing.
And and maybe it'll
trying to provide these people with the information.
Right, and maybe it requires the board to hold additional meetings.
I really think we need to do a sewer workshop.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good idea.
Which I know our last workshop was consumed by the sewer.
Right.
And which should have been preparing us for what's here tonight.
Right.
I think
There's too much on this tonight for one meeting. There's too much on this.
Well, it's on the agenda, so we got to get through it.
Yeah.
So, but I agree that that's a great idea, and then that's a forum where we can announce it, the public knows about it, and everybody can sit down and discuss all these matters.
That's why we.
Fully.
That's why that we called the engineer, because he knows more about it than the rest of us here.
While we're on sunshine law, I got a question. At our last board meeting, the engineer was going over all the sewer stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted a leadway whether to know to contact King's Court. We actually took a vote at a workshop.
No vote was taken. He wanted to see
Each individual how they felt, whether they wanted to pursue. Now, how is that not violating the sunshine law?
We didn't take a vote.
no vote was taken. He wanted to
ask each individual pretty much.
No, he
what do I need to do?
He gauged
I need
interest.
the leadway to know whether to pursue these.
He did not say, Stephen McLean, what do you think? Pat Stillwell, what do you think? Minnie Flushbar, what do you think? He asked for a general.
I'm just asking. I mean, I'm not fussing about this.
No, I just don't. He wanted to gauge the temperature of the board before he took action. The board didn't tell him. The board didn't tell him to do something, but the way I understood it.
Quote unquote, he said, "I need to get the lead to be able to, whether y'all want to pursue this."
And he took the temperature of the conversation and determined that it was a good idea. That's the way I understood it.
I'm not arguing about it. I'm just wondering how that, is that a vote? Is it not? Or?
It's not a vote.
It's not a vote, and what transpired, and I think it was, you were one of the ones that made the really good point that led him to confirm that, yeah, we do need to be looking at regionalization. We need to. There's an interest level at the board to go farther down that road and engage those discussions. And I think a lot of it was based on not on your questions that you threw back at Mr. Hellstrom, such as do we know what this will cost? I think that we need to take a closer look at this and determine the cost of a regionalization with a neighboring community. And I think based on those conversations, he was able to determine that, yeah, there is sufficient interest on the board to go ahead and look in that direction.
So in hillbilly terms, it's his way of finding out
what
direction he needs to go.
Yeah, and it was also, at a public meeting. I mean, the workshop was public. We published we hold on to the recording of it until, yeah.
A little sketchy there, but I just wanted to clarify that.
I understand.
Okay,
So
move on.
now that we've gotten that out of the way, we need to talk about E and F, purchase of dump truck, and then F is pricing for micro bar screens. So whoever placed those matters on the agenda can address them.
There is an issue about the dump truck. With the wastewater treatment plant, there are two byproducts. the water that goes back into the river, I call it water. It's effluent or something like that. I'm really not even sure how you pronounce the word. The other is the sludge. The sludge is either sent to the landfill, or if you're lucky and you get a farmland, you can actually make a deal with them and take it there and dump it.
Well, hold it a minute. Where do we take it?
We take it to Cards Valley landfill.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
We're working on a farm. We have castles. We have 9 farms. That means we can save a lot of money to proceed our solids. But we've been working on that for a year. I got my info with it, and we're just waiting for the woman to okay it. So but most likely where I'm at right now, I have to tell her how many gallons, how many tons, just give her information on how we do it. Because they have to know, because some people might be like, it's 6 tons. Take it to the take it to the farm. You have to keep records. So that's what we're working with right now, and hopefully here soon we'll get a thumbs up on it. So we've been working on it for a good year now. So.
Well, I thought you told me that before.
Yes,
but
ma'am.
I thought, well, I better ask them.
Yes, ma'am. I did.
Because I've been up there several times.
Yeah.
Asking you questions too.
They have not been able to have the truck.
I've been Jason. He's been working with me great. The department head over Pope Works. He has to have his equipment, so he works around with. I work around with his schedule and stuff. We got the dump truck back. We're moving sludge out, taking it to Cards Valley landfill, so we don't have to, have any issues with violations or anything. We do not have any violations. We're just keep doing what we can.
You did get those violations taken care of, and I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, that's communication issues we got taken care of. But yeah, the chemical feed pump, we got that fixed with our flow meter, the 420 milliamps. Long story short, it's fixed. So that was.
But now Jason is still letting you use the truck.
Yes,
right
ma'am.
now.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that truck is still in good enough condition until we pass the next budget, right?
Well, what?
That's cross contamination, that's raw sewage in that truck area, going back to the public, apartment again, clean it and get there with it?
Yeah, we mostly put in drum beds and hose down the sludge in the drum beds so it can be contained, but we mostly just clean it before we take it to, Jason's guys. We don't want,
So you sanitize that really well before you would take it back over there.
We hose it down and all that stuff, but we don't take it back with sludge on it because that's disrespectful. And
Because I think I asked that to the inspector that was up there that day. The state
yeah, Bree,
inspector.
Miss Bree, yeah.
What's the verdict on the truck? What's the verdict on the truck?
They're working on it.
Been doing that for 2 years.
They're doing a transmission again.
No. No.
That's what he told us.
Who? Steve? Steve can't get the man to answer him to tell him where the truck's at. Did you know, Mike?
Yes, I did.
Do we know where the truck's at?
Yes, the transmission shop in Baileyton.
The last time I talked to Steve, he said the man would not confirm where the truck was at.
Well, the attorney is becoming involved in this. My recommendation after discussions with Steve and Mr. Peavy is that we put this in Mr. Peavy's hands.
See,
I'm gonna start with sending a demand letter for return of the truck and give them a sunset date.
Is this truck disassembled? Is it whole? Is it?
I have no idea.
Do you have an address where this truck's at?
Steve does. Stephen does.
Yeah.
Would I be in violation if I go see if that truck's at that address in any way?
No.
It's to me not clear that it looks like we have anything to vote on here for E&F. I'd like to make the motion that we table this.
Yes.
Well, do we want to get to the microbar screens? I don't know if there's something to vote on there or not.
Okay. Sorry, we're just doing with the then discussion for the dump truck, and I'd like to make a motion that we table that discussion for a future workshop meeting.
And I second.
We need to vote. Vote to table.
Yes.
So you have to ask.
Oh, all in favor, can we go in all in favor? We have, all in favor of tabling this, say aye.
Aye.
All in favor, say no.
No.
So then, pricing for the microbar screens. That's the other item that we moved up.
Because we do not have the screening that is recommended to us by MTS, our sewer is full of trash, absolutely full of trash, which causes just problems to the rest of the equipment. Our, trying to find a good picture of it.
Is that where all the cigarettes and everything, all that trash, needles and everything else?
Yes. It's not supposed to, oh, here's one.
Not needles, but the thing that you smoke cigarettes
It
or
isn't
whatever.
supposed to be there. This has been neglected, it needs to be corrected.
And
With
now
MTS,
what
we have
that
had
cost?
microfilter, screening, microbar screens. We have these things that are big, gawky things that have huge holes in them. The men literally have to take a rake and put it into a bucket. It still filters on through there.
Have they ever had screens on?
Yes, a long time ago.
So they just wore out?
And I don't know why they were removed and replaced with something that's inferior. I have no idea.
The screens they have now is, like she's showing the picture, they're pretty wide. They can catch some rags, toys, any kind of organic, but not all of it. So therefore, it comes in our plant, mop head rags will get in our pumps, so we have to pull it. And sometimes it can damage our pumps due to, jamming it, messing up the windings in the pump. It can cause spills.
So these things that's been put in the, say, the commode or the whatever,
Well,
and it's flushed down?
yeah,
It could be
people
your
flush.
sink too, right?
Yeah. See, some houses has grinder pumps, so therefore the issue's at their place. But the rest of the town, whatever they flush, wipes, face wipes, whatever, says flush full on them. But there again, if it says flush full, I'm gonna flush it. If I don't have know. But people don't know that if you don't tell them. So, but to the story, yes. If someone flush it, it goes to our lift stations. Our lift stations are mud pumps. They ain't no grinders, so it don't get hung. It sends it to our plant.
So they get hung in the,
Grinder pumps.
Grinder.
Yeah, residential pumps.
and that stops it up then? It
Yes,
causes
ma'am.
the pump to go
That's
bad.
why you see a lot of flashing, a rag issue. Not all the time, but it's a high percentage of calls.
And a lot of this is, just.
Baby wipes, face wipes, and makeup wipes.
Everything else white.
Yeah, this is what is the teeth on the pump, on the grinder, can't chew it up because it's so,
Thin.
yeah, it's so tough. Now,
Now,
foam
do these
paper,
screens go, where do these screens go, in every pump?
no, that's for the plant
Just the
itself.
big ones then? Okay.
Yeah, that's the head works where it comes into the head of the plant.
Who's the person that made it,
We never had fine screens.
You never had them at all, that thing, even when the thing was new, you never had them?
I haven't. They used to have they have a, I forgot the name, but what it does, it will chew up rags and stuff. Then it'll be small particles going down, so it'll chew up bigger rags, but still you'll
Now,
have the
I understand
burden.
that. I didn't know if the plant was designed with them or not, is what I'm asking. Was that plant, when it did, was it designed to have them or not?
The reason why Mario's fundamental engineer, me and him went over a lot of stuff, and the reason why it came up, and he thought we had more options to look at except the bar screens. He asked me personally what you think would be best. He said I have some other thoughts also. The reason why it came to my mind, me and Mike and Robert, before Robert retired, we went down to Roswell. They installed these screens, and they improved a lot good for their plant. Well, last year they got both screens working, and it's doing good for that plant. So that's why me and Mike and Robert went down there and checked it out. So I got information from Mike and say, hey, what's your thoughts? And then the engineers will give us thoughts too of what's more out there. So yeah, the screens will be a good option, but therefore we don't know until we make a decision, and that's whenever engineers.
Do you have contacts to get a price on?
Well, if I can jump in here.
Yeah.
We're working with Von Mountain, we're working with TDEC. I was on the phone with TDEC today. Latest that we've been discussing the notice of violations. TDEC is waiting for us to put a corrective action plan in front of them. They are interested in us regionalizing, while what Vice Mayor Malka and this all discussion is about with the screens at the head of the plant. We do believe, I think that we're probably looking at $150,000.
Yes, sir.
$150,000 to put this in place. That's just for the hardware. Now, TDEC is not demanding us remedy this immediately. What they're wanting us to do is work with the engineers, work with the neighboring cities, decide whether or not we're going to be going the path of regionalization and joining with a neighboring community. And if we're going to start down the road of a neighboring community, then their position on these violations in regards to our wastewater treatment facility is going to change. So it's all a part of a discussion to decide tonight that we're going to make a $150,000 purchase on a piece of equipment for the sewer plant is premature when we don't know what we're going to do with our sewer department.
I mean, you pretty much answered the question that I had about it. We're looking at about 150,000
Yeah.
uninstalled.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's just for the screens then.
Right. That's.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
clarifying that, Steve.
Right.
Thank you for clarifying that.
A question that I've been asked by a lot of the public. I'm just going to throw this out there. I'm not creating an argument. I'm not just give you something to think about. If the town of Mount Carmel was to agree with Kingsport to take our sewer, in whatever form, way, whatever, 10 years from now, Kingsport decides they don't want it. Mount Carmel is $30 to $40 million in the hole to put a sewer plant back in business. Would that be correct? I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it's not.
I mean, wouldn't there be an agreement of some sort?
Yeah, there would have to be an agreement, and I mean, what will happen is in one case where they take over our collection system, then all of that infrastructure they own. We'd have to get into the legal of it, but I don't imagine that they could just abandon a major service like that, whether it's in our city or theirs.
If you go under contract with them for 50 years, which I ain't gonna be here in 50 years more than likely.
Yeah. Well,
I know, yeah,
and something, things change.
Yeah.
And if they set it up as a 5-year notice that we're not going to handle this, they give a 5-year notice, well, still.
Well, I guess you'd have to make the notice longer.
We're going to have to put the sewer plant in. Well, we ain't.
Yeah.
They are. Somebody is.
But I mean,
We'll
I
have to
guess
put the sewer plant back up and running.
I guess ultimately we really don't know what those contracts would look like yet. So it's hard to speak on it since we don't have any idea what the terms will be.
But I just want to put that out there and let everybody.
And since we don't have these terms right now, since we don't have what these numbers looks like, and since it's not like we don't want to start putting $150,000 in a plant we don't know what we're going to do with yet, I want to make a motion motion that we go ahead and table that for a workshop as well, because sewer's gonna need a lot of hours of workshop, a lot of decisions, a lot of discussion. So before this thing's very premature to do it right today, that kind of money. So I'd like to make a motion that we gotta table that as well.
I'll second that.
We vote on that motion. Mayor?
We have a vote, please. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those who don't want it postponed say no. Okay, it's passed.
That brings us to section A on the new business.
Resolution 21-601. That is a resolution authorizing the city to pursue a CDBG grant. This is the same resolution that you all passed last year. It will be in the name of the city, but the utility district will, or the water company will actually be the one doing the work. It is for expansion of water lines. The city would essentially just act as a pass-through for this grant.
And that is a grant.
Yes.
What exactly the water line we going at?
My understanding it's on the eastern end, or the western end, but I don't know the details.
I'll make a motion we proceed forward with this grant.
And I'll second that.
Is there any further discussion?
I'm curious as to what, here it says 14% of local match, so what is it gonna cost us?
It won't cost us anything.
The utility district provides that.
Yes.
Yeah.
That wasn't the way I read it. I thought it says the town of Mount Carmel.
Through first utility district. Yeah.
Well, but it says the town of Mount Carmel will provide the 14%.
First utility district's the one that.
It's the one that'll provide it. Through the town of Mount Carmel. It's like umbrella type deal. It's like through that channel, that's the way the money will be provided. So it's through the
So
first
it's not
utility.
gonna cost us anything.
No.
Well, it's okay with me.
So we need to vote on that still?
Yes, we need to.
Okay,
But do we need a roll call on that
We
since
need
resolution?
we've had you
Just
made the motion, right? And you
I'll
seconded
second
it.
it.
Okay, all in favor say yes.
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 All in favor no, say no. Passed. Do we go to the B now?
Yes.
Okay, discussion and approval of resolution 21602, extension of the building permit fee waiver.
I want to make a motion, we keep it as it is.
Hold on just a minute.
Would that be a motion to pass the resolution?
Keep it as it is.
Is this to?
Waiving all fees, is that what we're?
That's why, are we voting to reinstate the fees, the building fees, or to not do fees?
Because there's no building fees right now.
Right.
Hasn't been since last
We have
July.
I speak on this.
Yes, you may.
The planning commission originally brought this up, hoping that it would generate more interest in the in buildings in the town. We've had this now for 2 years, and it did not seem to help any at all. And it's a significant blow to our income. As an example, the Dollar General that came in, had we not had this waiver on the fee, their building fee would have been approximately $3,000. In the last year, I believe, we've lost about $10,000 by having this fee waiver. The planning commission did not have a quorum last meeting, so we weren't able to give a recommendation on this. my personal recommendation is that you do away with the waiver and go ahead and reinstate the fee. Thank you.
That was $10,000 we lost.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
I don't have a problem about the town making money, but the taxpayers already pay enough. They shouldn't be double hit again. Now, people come in and outside, yeah, you can put the building permits on them and let them pay for them. But we don't need to tax our citizens. They pay enough in tax.
If I could speak to that.
Yes.
I don't think we can place a fee like that on people from out of town and not people in town.
Then I'll just go back to my first.
Go ahead, Mike, what were you saying?
If I could speak to that point, what is actually happening is that the taxpayers in this instance are actually bearing the load. The taxpayers are the ones paying for the building permits in this instance, because the building permit process, the salary of Mr. Pishner, all of these things has to be borne by something. Now, the reason that you have building permit fees is because typically when you do that, the purpose is so that these fees pay for the service that's being provided. So, and $10,000, that wouldn't cover the entire.
You're saying that the citizens of Mount Carmel paying their taxes are eating that fee?
Yes. The taxpayers.
How do you figure that?
Do what?
How do you figure that? They pay their taxes, they're eating that fee?
Because somebody has to pay it. If the building permit fees are not paying for the building inspection services, then the building inspection services are being paid by tax dollars.
Your taxpayers paid $3,000 for the building permit for the building job.
Do whatever you want to, Ron.
It billed to the
If
taxpayers.
the majority wants to go for it, go for it.
Well, we've already got a motion and a second now.
Question, Patsy, you can go ahead and take those.
But let's make sure we know what we're voting on. So the motion and the second was to extend the fee waiver, correct? Okay. Is that what this ordinance does?
Yes.
Or this resolution does? Okay. So that is the vote. So if you vote yes,
You say no if you don't want it, right?
if you don't want to extend the fee waiver, you would say no. If you do want to, you'd say yes. Yeah.
You want the fee put back on?
You say no.
Let's
Yes.
say that we've lost, like Mr. White said, estimated $10,000, which I know if these people hadn't built something, if they had been a fee in place, that's the reason that they went ahead and built, because there wasn't one. It wouldn't have been $10,000 if we lost. Maybe that's why Dollar General come here.
No.
It's industry practice. Building fees is industry practice. Anywhere you go is going to have building fees, permits, and stuff like that. I mean, it's standard. I don't like taxes either, but it's cost of doing business.
You can't say that you lost that amount of money.
Well, when you look at, we've done this. I think this is actually our third year comparing last year's to this year's. There's absolutely no variation, or to previous years, there's no variation between number of new residences built since we waived this and before. New construction stayed exactly as it was after we did it. Kingsport did this for 1 year as well. My understanding that they had the same outcome. They saw no new construction as a result of these fee waivers, and after that first year, they reinstated the fees as well.
And if this ordinance is not passed, that essentially just will expire and those fees will return. There will be no action needed to resume fee schedule.
Yes, sir.
I think Trey will roll call on this.
Yes.
So let's do one by one on.
Alderman Gibson, you called for the vote. Is that correct?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Alderman Mindy Fleshour.
To extend, no.
Okay. Alderman John Gibson.
No.
Alderman James Gill.
I made the motion to leave it the way it is.
Okay. So you're voting in favor.
Yes.
Okay. Alderman Stephen McLean.
Yes.
Okay. Alderman Darby Patrick.
No.
Vice Mayor Teresa Monk.
I'll say yes.
Mayor Pat Stillwell.
No.
Does not extend.
What?
Motion fails.
So we go back to collection now.
Yes.
I'm already lost.
So we're on
C. We're on C now.
All right.
Oh, okay.
John,
Alright,
you
so
want
item-
to explain
please.
this before we get
Yes,
started?
ma'am. I had a quick item C put on the agenda for the AirMed Care Insurance. And what I essentially making the motion to do is that we, as a town, provide AirMed Care Insurance, which would give our employees something if they, additional insurance, that if they were had to be flown where Ballard's no longer a level 1 trauma center, and, certain situations might require quicker care, I don't want that financial burden to be something that would cause somebody to possibly, choose to not be flown and then ultimately, pass away or something like that. It's something that we can, it's a nice benefit that we can give our employees for not a big cost on the town, and even factoring at the cost of the quoted rate, which I'm still waiting to try to get a group quote on that. But it would be something that would be looking at under $2,000, covering all employees. And so I'll make the motion that we cover that for full-time employees, and if the board members wanted to sign up for it, they have to cover that at their own cost, not at the town cost.
What is the cost?
I gave out,
Cover all of
them. Yes, that would be.
But it won't be.
And that also covers the employee and their family, so it's more than, it's the household.
Let me ask you something. Okay, your insurance does not pay about $10,000 on that, right?
That's hard to say because every insurance is so different, but normally it's none to maybe $10,000 what I've seen. So in your air flight can cost up to $60,000.
Yeah.
Talking about a $50,000 gap right there. And if you look at the paper, you can see where Val will come and sue and try to take your house. So this is just a little bit of protection to protect an investment for our employees.
So, in other words, the town would be responsible if one of our guys were out here mowing or something.
This has nothing to do with the town or their responsibility.
But I'm
This
saying
is
if we don't,
If they're
they'll
out,
do
we
this.
off the clock.
This is off the clock, right.
Yeah.
Like, if they're on the clock, that's covering workman's comp. But if it's off the clock and they have a car wreck and need to be flown, then that's where that insurance, where our health insurance stops,
Okay.
this insurance picks up.
That's a good incentive for
Right,
$59.
it's an option of,
A
right,
year.
right. It's something that, because we don't have the ability to pay our employees, excessive, or private, even private sector rates in some situations, this is just a little bit of extra benefits that would help protect, their investments or things that they might have. Just a little bit of an extra incentive for our employees.
What's your opinion on that? What's your opinion on that?
Well, I think that it would have I think the employees would appreciate it. Obviously, I would benefit from that as well, and I know that I would appreciate it. We've got a good workforce. I think that, as everybody knows, they work hard. I think that it's extremely admirable. It would not harm the budget in a meaningful way, and it's, I guess, from a staff perspective, I would appreciate it, as would the rest of the staff. From a financial officer or city manager perspective, the cost of this would not be detrimental to the budget.
Do you know there any other city offers this with their package for employees, or would be that one of the first?
I believe the county does.
Churchill has already passed this and paid for it, and Hopkins County passed it. because they pay for all of it.
Now, did you say that this could include the Aldermen and they pay it themselves?
They have to pay it themselves. Like if we can get it at a group rate, the motion I'm putting on the floor would be they have to pay for it to be part of that group rate. The town's not covering any board member.
Exactly.
So I don't want to give us anything as far as that goes. I just want to give the employees. And so
well, $59, if it's $69 or $79 or something, because
that's just for 1 year.
right. So I don't know. I want to include on that. I guess I need to be clear on that. And on that motion, make that a reoccurring benefit to be evaluated each year.
Can you do like a family for everybody, like a Alderman's family?
In the paperwork that I sent you, if it's right, it says that it does cover the household.
Okay. Whoever's in the household.
Right.
John, sir, can you get some more information?
Yeah, did you not get one of the flyers?
Huh?
Did you get one of the flyers?
No.
Okay, I'll get a flyer for you and send it out to you.
I'd like to go ahead and make the motion that we do this because I think this is a great incentive, and I'd like to have the insurance myself.
So
Because I know my insurance would pay about $10,000, and I'd have to pay the rest.
Right, so I've got a motion, so you would be seconding the motion.
Oh, you motion?
Yes, I made the motion.
I
So
second
you're
it.
seconding it.
You want to go each one of us yes or no, Mike? Should we?
You can do all in favor.
All in favor say yes.
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 Those who's not in favor say no. Would it pass?
I make a motion, 5-minute bathroom break.
Yes.
Sorry. I'm ready to go home.
I didn't know what you're doing.
We'll get there eventually.
Okay, I didn't know what was going on.
I'm gonna table one of mine. Because I'm getting tired, my legs aching.
I'm over here counting down these agenda bells.
We call this meeting to order back to order. We lost one. Calling this meeting back to order. Yeah, we don't even get in a hurry.
Alright, so we're on D.
D.
Yeah.
Alright, so I put that on the agenda about establishing a date for strategic planning.
Hurry up, Jim. Put it in.
Hey, I'm 74 years old. I just turned my hair in years and years ago. I don't carry anymore.
This, and while you're on the subject, this might be a good place to also discuss a workshop for the sewer. I mean, it's a planning endeavor. So
If I could,
go ahead with strategic planning first.
Yeah, with the strategic planning, one of the biggest things that I'd like to see get accomplished for the strategic planning session is to get some type of fleet policy. I think that's one of the most desperate things we need as far as terms of policies or for the town procedures. The way we do things right now that could be improved, the fleet is definitely something that could use some work. That's something we can sit down, get block off a few hour time period, get this fleet policy in place, and then start getting set up to purchase new equipment and stuff under that policy. So then in the future, there is no big hit for money because we already have that money allocated to cover this new equipment. So it's really more of a way of cleaning up our books and sometimes some accounting things, but also will keep us with better, newer equipment. It's just a matter we have to get on that policy for that plan first, where we're spending only so much for repairs versus buying new, things like that. And we can iron out all the requirements and mileage tracking, however we want to incorporate this policy. We can iron it all out in the strategic planning session. That's my spiel for the reason why I like to have it, and for the sewer. I think those two issues can fill up probably a week. So, a few hours or 6 hours, however much we can allot to do it, we absolutely can fill it full of those two things.
So you need an extra meeting in this month?
Not this month.
Just trying to figure out when to do the strategic planning.
This is looking for long-term planning, long-term plans like.
Yeah, I know what you're. Yeah, I know.
I think this probably needs to be two separate meetings. Sewer probably needs its own attention of what we need to do with sewer. So what I'm proposing that we set a date for a strategic planning session for the personnel policy and the fleet policy. Those two issues.
I think the fleet needs to go before sewer, not we. Every department needs to hit. We have to take care of every department with everything to this sewer.
Well, it would give us a plan for the vehicles because we also can't go out and replace all the vehicles at one time. So it lets us know what we need to do first and gives us a long term. That's the biggest thing I think of the fleet would do is give us a long-term plan for vehicles.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just think that's the first thing we need
Yeah.
to do there. Under the planning commission.
Okay, we need to
What,
put that to a
what kind of day,
motion.
we need a motion to even have the session to bring it there, or can we set that without a motion?
To establish the session?
Yeah, to establish the date, to establish the session, I guess.
Either way, you.
I'll make a motion to have a strategic plan session on, let's iron out a date.
Do we want it on Thursday?
Thursday, yeah, Thursday, if either
So
date.
we'll have, in February, we'll be here the 11th and the 25th for a workshop and the meeting. The other 2 Thursdays are the 4th and the 18th.
You looking at like a 6-7 hour?
Yeah, if we want to do it on a day where people have all day, then we might want to.
You say the 11th and what?
The 11th and 25th will be our 2 meetings.
Not necessarily even February, like, I mean,
Yeah.
we can
Whenever.
set this, I just would like to have something hard on the calendar, a date that we could work on this.
Yeah.
If we have to set it in March, we can set it in March, but it's just
Well, I
something.
think we need to do it as soon as we
I do too.
We gotta make sure everybody has time to request off
February.
work.
Yeah.
Could we put it on the same day as the meeting?
We get here really early, and you could,
Basically a full day of work.
if people could be here.
My day wouldn't change any.
So it just depends on what y'all
Yeah,
want to do.
I'll be taking off work regardless, so.
Well, do
I'm
it
definitely with it.
the 1st of February then.
That's too quick, Pat. We're already January 28th.
Yeah.
There's only time to
You
get
wanna do the
off work.
first week of March, like March 4th, that Thursday? That gives us a month, that gives people time to request off work and such to be there.
Let's make it the 11th, so it's the same day as the workshop.
And then we'll just run right on into the
Yeah.
workshop.
The 11th of February?
March.
March.
We can go, just make that basically an all-day event.
What time do we need to get here?
8 a.m.
Why not 8? Yeah.
Well, I don't have my calendar here, and I know I've
So the
got
ones
stuff
11
in
March, then we got the 11 and 25th of February.
And it'll be the 11th and 25th in March too.
We're not doing it on
I
a
don't think I'll be there, I
Wednesday
don't think I'll be
It's,
at
we're
Mission.
trying to, I mean,
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna have to take off for the meeting Thursday already too, so it's like, either one I can do, but it's, I think it would make more sense. I'd like to have a day of it.
I'm available. I thought,
Would it be impossible to do it on Saturdays?
yeah, you're working, you still work, Stephen still works.
I work on weekends, so.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
yeah.
Every weekend? Oh, playing ball.
Well, all in real estate.
let's tentatively, let's put on the date, I mean, this is over a month away, we'll have to meet again to change it. Let's put it right now, I'll make the motion that we have a strategic planning session starting at 8 o'clock on March 11th.
I second that.
And vote.
You don't have my
Is that a
calendar.
roll call or motion?
It could just be a yea or nay.
Okay, yeah, get your name.
Okay, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All in favor say no.
And do we want to set a date for the sewer discussion as well?
Yeah, I'd like to possibly maybe set that next week, where we can just have open discussion about the sewer and.
You said next week? Did you say next week?
Next Thursday?
Whatever works with everybody, I mean, if it can be,
What's your
as
day?
long as it's after 6:30, it works great for me.
Well, maybe the
But I
4th.
know that works against John.
So the 4th at 6:30, is that a good?
Or if we wanna do it the following week, through the day would be fine.
Let's do it the following week, that's the same day as the workshop. Just kind of do the same, we don't have to, I wouldn't do, we need to start at 8 in the morning that day too, or
Yeah.
you want to do?
I don't think we'll need a couple hours on it. I mean, if we wanted to do a long workshop that week and.
Just
put
go
the-
from 6:30 until we're done?
The first part of it.
I like
That
that.
would work a lot better instead of taking all so many days out.
We need to kind of separate it out, you know,
That's
we're gonna
true.
do this till we get ready to move on to the next discussion.
So you'd like the sewer specific planning and or workshop on the 11th prior to the town's regularly scheduled workshop?
That sounds great to me.
Okay.
That works with everybody else.
Yeah.
What time, sir?
I don't even know if we need a motion for that. It's probably got something.
This will be on the same day as our workshop.
So we got 'em.
Same time.
So that's a motion. Do we have a second for that?
I second that.
But the sewer is, I'm confused, is it gonna be the workshop, is that what we're going to do?
No, we're gonna do the sewer first,
Then the
and then we'll
workshop.
have our regular workshop right after, immediately
On
after.
the 11th.
Yes,
Is that the 11th?
it is. Yeah, they both are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the 11th 2 months in a row. It's weird.
Yeah, that'll work.
It would be the same
Workshop
time
would
with
be
the,
good.
This is the
workshop
11th
would
of
start.
October,
We
right?
would just do the
Yeah.
sewer first and then.
The 11th of February,
Yeah.
Is
right?
that correct?
Yes.
And what's the start time for that?
6:30.
Standard time?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go.
Ladies want 6:30 in the daggone mornings.
So we got a motion and a second. Do we want? We need to vote.
Let's take a vote. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Anybody say no?
Would it do any good?
Well, I don't think so.
Now, the 11th for me will work if y'all wanna start earlier.
Okay.
It's up to you all, it's fine with me.
What meeting you talking about, Steve?
It's,
Next.
Let's move it up to 5.
The 11th of March?
No,
no, February,
February.
our regular workshop meeting, we wanna dedicate one part of it to the sewer and have our regular workshop after.
What's the regular meeting going to do now?
We'll decide that after in our
Between
workshop.
now and then, anything that we come up that we need to bring to the workshop, I guess we handle them too. And, I mean, there's some other stuff that we pushed today and still might be pushing. I mean, we still have a ways to go, so we still might be pushing some more to workshop, but
This is too much for a workshop. I mean, this
the
is
sewer
too
needs
much
its own
on the
dedicated
agenda
time,
tonight
but
anyway.
can't monopolize. This is why sewer was our workshop last week, and this is why we have an agenda that's so big, because it monopolized all our time. So if we, I mean, even if we can move 211 up to 5.
Okay.
Can that work with you?
Is that a motion? Yeah.
I motion that we move it up to 5 then.
Move it up to 5, okay.
So we have a motion and a second now.
Yes, call for a vote, Matt.
I call for a vote. Move it up to 5.
All in favor?
All in favor say yes.
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 At 5 o'clock?
5 o'clock, 211.
On the
On the
11th.
11th.
All right.
Lord mercy, y'all have to call all young and 90.
Now we move to item G, bids on patching or replacing the roof on the dog shelter.
It's my understanding that it's leaking and has been leaking for a while. I don't understand why we're not fixing it.
Can you explain the dealing to us, the way it's figured out and what you were?
It needs a whole, a whole new building.
Yes, I'm not gonna speak to who built it, but presently we have one half of it pretty much closed off. The repairs that are necessary are way beyond roof repair. There are structural issues there.
What kind of structure? We can't reinforce it back, build it back up?
We have is everybody familiar with the building?
No.
The animal control building?
I went up and looked at it, it's awful. It's dangerous.
If some of you may realize you may have actually been.
I've worked in it, I mean, I've done some plumbing over and different things.
Okay.
Could I have
That-
Sherry come in if she works there? Could she explain to you?
Well, if we're going to turn it over, I turn it over to the chief, because he's actually looked at the chief. Who did you talk to on the roof repair?
Once we became aware, I contacted Vickers Roofing, because they boarded our city, just to have them come down and look at it, and he won't touch it. It needs more than a roof. The structure itself will not support a roof. There's multiple roofs on that building. They just kind of re-roofed over shingles, metal, and the roof itself is unstable. And without rebuilding the building, it won't support a new roof. Have to tear it down and build a new one.
Can we not table this until we can discuss it at the next planning meeting?
What is our option? secure a new one, or another option we can do besides building?
Well, there's been discussions about partnering with Petworks.
That's a new building in Kingsport, right?
That's Sullivan County's new animal control.
It's nothing to do with the county, it's privacy owned, property owned, right?
It's a nonprofit, correct.
Have you been up there?
I was just
Oh
remembering
my
it was
gosh,
in the news
it
out
is
there, I seen
gorgeous.
it.
They don't euthanize the dogs either.
What's Sullivan
Or
County
an
got to do with it?
No.
Did you say Sullivan County?
Yes.
It's in Sullivan County.
They don't
It's
run it,
Pet
it's
That's the
Works.
location of the
It's just where it's at.
Okay.
So would they take, I mean, I know it's probably not been, they've not been contacted, but could they handle what animals we pick up?
We don't pick them up.
Well, they do, they will.
They will. They got their own
I've
animals.
been asked to look into this, and I have had conversations. Preliminary conversations looks like they would take everything that we've got. What I'd like to do is probably talk about this in a workshop, take a look at their proposal. Additionally, they've extended an offer that any of you guys that would like to see the facility could come up and look at it. It's on Stone Drive. So if that level of interest is there, then maybe that's a discussion for a workshop.
Why would we outsource our compound? She does it every day in, day out. Why would we outsource it?
Because the cost of a new building.
We don't have nowhere to build a new clinic.
You know,
Like I say,
So
some
with
of them,
this,
it might save
if we
you a lot of
was to
money
go
on the
with this,
building.
would this
But you know
eliminate our
what? You need to take a
animal
look to
control
see what
or do
other
we still
options we may have.
It might.
collect and
We-
they pick up, or?
It might. They have their own animal control officers.
24/7.
So we would make some sort of donation toward them and
Yeah.
go from there.
Yes.
Yeah, the number that has been thrown out at this point, it looks like about $40,000 a year. Yeah.
What does it cost us now to run our animal control?
Last year, 2019, we expended $57,000.
I make a motion that we table this until the second half of the not sewer part of the 211 workshop.
I second that.
A whole lot of questions we're gonna have with that, and need to see paperwork from Petworks, so yeah, let's
We got an idea of
get a
that.
second on that, roll call, or voice vote that.
Yes.
Vote.
Voice vote.
Oh, boys, though.
I got one question on
Well,
that before we go.
Got a motion on the floor,
So you got a lady back there, she's a dog catcher.
Well, he's already. We'll have to discuss it at a later time. He's made our motion.
got a second on the floor, so we got to
And
vote
we're
on
up
it.
on a second, and we're going for a vote. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. All in favor, not in favor say no.
Me?
Okay, it's passed. For the planning committee, for our planning next month.
Right.
The 11th.
Second part of 211.
Second
Next
part.
item is H.
Yes, this is me. I would want to get the fire department a truck, a vehicle, to pull their trailers with, when they have to use their tools or whatever. And really, I just want to let our fire chief come out and explain exactly what he needs it for.
Here, so you can hear me. I think I passed out a letter to everybody. I've tried to explain it the best I could in it. Basically, we are down, we actually haven't had it in quite some time, a utility vehicle. We use that utility vehicle for different instances, pulling our trailers that we have. Our trailer holds our hazmat equipment in it. It also holds some rescue equipment in it. It'll also be used on medical calls. We are a part of the cardiac arrest program right now in Hawkins County with Hawkins County EMS. So on any code call in the city of Mount Carmel, we are automatically dispatched to our first responders to go and assist with CPR or whatever may be needed. This vehicle would keep the actual apparatus, our large apparatus, from running up and down the road so much. That way we can save it some and save some miles on it. The prices you see on there, the truck price is the state bid price. So that process is set. We just have to file the appropriate paperwork. Now, the following two processes you see are estimates. I did not have time for the salesman to prepare a hard quote number for me. Given the short time before the meeting, both sales personnel on both of those line items said, Jason, that's too quick. Can you give me 2 weeks? I said, can you give me an estimate? They said, we can get you in a ballpark, but we can't guarantee the full price. I said, okay, thanks. With that, there it is.
That's a question about that, Chief.
Yep.
With this, I know it's something that you like to have for these reasons, and I think you're very valid, and being able to respond to CPR calls or cardiac calls like that is something that will be valuable and see value in that. But is this something that we can look at, possibly trying to get implemented after, or for you as far as a need for y'all? If we kind of get this fleet policy in place by the March meeting.
I work at the pleasure.
I understand. I'm saying, like, how big a need is this right now?
I don't need it tomorrow.
Okay.
I need one, but not tomorrow. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
I mean, if we decided to do it today, it's still going to bleed on over in the budget time, so when we just look at putting it in the budget.
That's what I say.
Okay.
So I'll make that motion that we table that or put it on, wait for the budget, however you want to work that till we get the fleet policy in place and can get that.
Wait for the budget so we will know.
Yeah.
So we can make sure that.
So we've got a motion to postpone this until the budget.
I second.
Definitely.
When will the budget be?
We start working on that, in a couple
As we
months.
pass budget in July, so.
So you have to, and you vote.
Sure.
Yeah.
Alright, so it's that.
And so we need a second and a vote.
I got a second.
Okay, then we need a vote.
Do we need a, okay. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
All, those opposed say no. Passed.
Next we have item I, discussion of sick leave policy.
I'm gonna table that till next month.
All right.
I've been here long enough tonight.
I
So
second
then-
that.
Do we need to vote on that?
Yes. All in favor say yes.
Okay, finally, J, discussion of duties of the city manager.
Okay. Mike, this is some of the stuff that you should have done, but you didn't do. This has been put down, passed by the board, to put a concrete pad out there in the fire department. Remember that?
Continue.
Okay. Then, I'm not gonna go through this. You know, we just went through the truck at the sewer plant, which I think, if you remember, we sat downstairs and talked about this, and you said you would write them a letter.
No, I didn't.
What you said, is we'd give them 10 days, and if not, I'll just write them a letter.
No, there was a motion on the floor. There was discussion that the board would give 10 days, and the board did not take that action.
Okay, that's fine. But there's a lot of garbage out here on the road, getting complaints about it, brush, this beer garbage, it's not getting done. And I don't know what the answer is, but you're the town manager.
Well, I'll tell you
It's
what,
just
our
off
boys
littering.
were up all night long last night, putting salt down. And, they have been working, down on, where do you live, Stephen?
Lord's Chapel.
No, what's the road that they're doing the big hole?
Hermitage.
And, yeah, and they did that, and then they did a job up on, Carter's Valley that shouldn't have ever been having to do.
You know more about this than the town manager does.
No, he knows. He knows exactly. And so, but our boys are covered up. There's 5 of them there. Only 5 working this whole time.
Okay.
Alderman, if we can return to the comment about what the town manager knows, there's nothing on here that I see that you put on the agenda about what the town manager knows, nor is there anything on here about what you're going to be communicating or what you're going to be asking me about. So if you want specifics from me, you've got to communicate what I need to prepare to come into a meeting.
Well, anyway, remember Lloyd's Chapel Road was supposed to have been striped? Not done.
We didn't pass it.
It was passed by the board.
I got a comment here.
The board
We do this
passed.
every month here. Why don't we get a third party to give our city manager a job evaluation? A third party, not us doing it, a third party. And then they can come back and tell us what how his grade is on his job. That way, it won't be biased between the board. The board is biased right now, either way, either for or against. We get a third party to come in here, we give him an evaluation that he has not had since he's been here.
Yes,
They
he
can tell
has.
us which way we need to go.
He has been evaluated.
Not us.
Well.
He was, but Jones didn't do it.
Not
I
us.
remember that.
Third party.
We have a motion on the floor.
Did you make a motion, Alderman Patrick?
I tried, I did not try to.
So
You're
you,
making a motion that we have evaluation.
okay, so yeah, we have a motion to have a third party evaluate the city manager, and
Then, after the evaluation, if we agree that he needs to stay, give him a, what is it, what is it,
Contract.
a contract for him. So he won't have to go through just every single, about his job.
Okay, so well,
State of Tennessee can't go contracted out will employment.
that's,
We have a motion on the floor right now.
Yeah.
Wait for a second and then.
yeah, and then we can
Is that a
discuss.
second on the motion?
Do you guys mind if I go ahead and finish mine?
Well, let's get through since someone's made a motion, let's get through
I'll
that
second
first.
it.
So we have a second on the motion.
I'll make a second on that.
Okay. And so that motion is for a third-party evaluation, correct? Okay. We have a second. Now, discussion on the motion.
Well, I'm gonna make it short, because
Okay.
I'm gonna get cut down anyway, so I'll just make it short. My motion is to eliminate the town manager's job and move you over to the recorder.
Okay, well, we'll have to finish this first motion first, and then we'll come back to it. So, as to the motion about a third-party review of the city manager, does anybody have a discussion about that in particular? It's my understanding, and I'm just spitballing here, but I would imagine that MTAS could perform such an evaluation. So we would just have to talk to them. Or if they can't do it, they can lead us to someone who can. They would likely do it for free, and somebody else would cost money. So,
I just think that's the only fair thing to do, and that way it's not biased, and as a new board member, I'm not qualified to see what he does. He does so much other stuff, I need somebody that's qualified to do
He's
it.
not a one of this board.
No, there's not.
To qualify, because he's got a master's degree.
And he does too much juggling anyway that the board, we don't have time to do everything that he does. If the town is,
He does
the
two
town's getting
jobs.
over this, like the whole
He
power
does two
struggle.
jobs, somebody else's job and his job.
That's what I
And he
think.
never was, he was promised $10,000 when Miriam left to take her job. He's doing her job, he's doing his job. He has never got that $10,000.
That is not true.
That is true.
I've got the letter at home where he was paid $4,200, and he'll tell you that.
Madam,
Plus the
that's
fact,
a question for the
wait a
vote.
minute, plus
Take
the
vote.
fact,
Wait.
he gets a 3% raise every year.
It's
He
been-
gets the same bonus as every employee
I'll call
out
for the
there.
question for the vote for this.
This he,
Let's take the vote on the motion that Darby has on the floor for a second.
what's the overall objective of getting rid of a city manager?
all right, so
The question's been called.
we have a vote, we got a motion on the floor, and I think we should probably go person by person to vote on it. So,
And we're
call-
voting on-
voting on a third-party
Okay,
review
okay.
of the job.
So who's gonna be the third party first?
Well,
Either impasse
I'm usually gonna,
I would-
agree upon person.
I would recommend that we contact MTAS, because I'm sure that they have someone that could do this.
Well, I think they can.
I mean, I haven't talked to him about it, but that would be my understanding.
Did he used to work at Impasse?
I believe so. I mean, I don't, but here's the,
Yes, most city managers have interned at MTAS.
Would that be
Alderman
creating
Gillum.
a conflict of interest?
I don't think so.
Did you work with every single person that works at MTS?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Speedy, can we continue, because I would like to take the vote on this.
Yeah.
I like the motion, so.
All right.
Roll call.
Alderman Fleshauer,
Yes.
Alderman Gibson,
Yes.
Alderman Gillum,
No, you know that.
Alderman McLean, Alderman Patrick,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mock,
Yes.
Mayor Stillwell,
Yes.
Alderman McLean.
No.
And I'd like to make a motion that we request Mr. Peavy to draw, not a contract, but a request for a severance. Or
Yes.
that if Mr. Housewright is terminated without cause, then that would still, we would still remain an at-will employer. But if he's terminated without cause, or we terminate his position, we provide him with a 6-month severance.
Yes.
I'd like to make that motion.
I
Peavy to
second.
draw from the board.
So we got a motion and a second. Can we roll call that as well, or do we have discussion on it first before we begin?
So you said 6-month severance.
6-month severance if he's terminated without cause.
So this will stop people coming after him every year if this stops.
If we as a board decide to get rid of the city manager, then Mr. Housewright could get, that's without cause, he has not of his own fault, so he would be granted severance for 6 months. If he, something that's caused, and we would set out these terms, Mr. Peavy would define those terms in task, I looked at some stuff, it's out there.
Yeah.
We would define the terms of cause, and then as long, if it's not under those, or unless he willfully resigns, then he would be entitled to a severance.
I don't
if
want
the
his
political
job.
change- Excuse me.
Is that in
excuse
your
me.
hand?
While we have,
Giving money.
while we have the political change consistently going back and forth, this gives him some form of consistency and the town some form of consistency in keeping all of this from continuing to happen.
And it gives our employees confidence, because our employees are like,
Right.
they're worried that our city manager might be fired, and we go back to a strong mayor program, which was never beneficial to Mount Carmel.
And just like Jim said, he's taken my job. That's not my job. I am not trained at. I've had classes in business math. I have had classes that, but I could not do his job. I do not have a degree in management like
How
he
many
does.
people on the board gets the information that we should have?
If you ask questions.
If you ask the right
Yeah,
questions,
yeah.
it's
I don't go
information.
down to City Hall. I'm not going down and wasting my time.
Then you
That's
can't
why
complain
you-
about not knowing
That's why you
anything.
gotta
That's your
make
problem. If you would educate yourself and talk to him, you would understand
I'm
a little
not
bit more, but you're not.
suck-ass.
It doesn't have to be a suck-ass, it's called educating yourself.
One other thing I'd just like to say for the record here, while we're talking about Mr. Housewright. Looking at general funds balance, November 2017, our general fund balance was $2.73 million. To date, our general fund balance is $4.77 million, which is a rough math difference of $2.04 million. That has grown in the course of 3 years with the city manager. I can't see exponentially growing that rate of $3 million of only general fund balance, and that's only just a drop in the bucket of what his job performance is.
Has any other mayor done that,
No.
or any other administrator since the town's been created?
No.
No.
Not since you've been, city manager, have you ever been in trouble yet with the audits that we go through? You've been right on it, ain't you, every time?
He's been on it.
We've had no audit findings. I'm not going to tell you that there won't be audit findings.
Well, how about before we got a city manager, how was it?
We had a couple of
In the
investigative reports.
What about lawsuits?
Reason that you went up on the taxes.
We haven't had any new lawsuits since the city administrator was put in place.
Like, so what you're saying, since we got a city manager, everything's been working smooth.
Yes.
We don't have to worry about it.
I mean, I understand we got trash on the roads and things like that, but
Find a motion to resign.
We're finished.
we need, you know,
Did you say motion to retire?
Yeah.
What, the meeting or your position?
Adjourn. Motion
We're
adjourn.
gonna go finish this.
Okay, so can we have a roll call on the motion for the third party? And I will contact MTS if that is what you all would like.
Yes.
Well, what's your
Oh, this is severance, actually. We've already voted on
Yeah.
that. I'm sorry.
Severance pay.
I'm getting confused as well.
What's
Did you
your
make that
opinion
motion?
about
I second.
About the severance agreement?
about doing a third party?
Oh, well, we're doing it, so I'll contact MTS on that.
And
The
it's,
severance agreement,
He's
to my
done.
understanding, it has not been certified to violate at will. So that answers your question, Stephen.
he has made the motion. I
Yeah.
second it.
Roll call.
Vote.
roll call vote.
Alderman Mindy Fleshour,
Yes.
Alderman John Gibson,
Yes.
Alderman Jim Gillen,
No.
Alderman Stephen McLean,
No.
Alderman Darby Patrick,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Teresa Monk,
Abstain.
Mayor Pat Stillwell.
Now what? I'm
It's
gonna
for the
vote
severance
on the
agreement.
For the severance.
For a pay raise, yes.
For a severance.
For the, yes. Oh, please.
All right, is there any further discussion on duties of the city manager?
All the employees gonna have the same benefit, right?
I'm sorry, what?
All the employees gonna get the same benefit?
The employees don't have board members coming after their jobs month after month after month.
Yeah.
Now, let's be real now. This is getting ridiculous.
Well, we have to finish the agenda. So mayor's comments is next.
Well, I think it's ridiculous. Every time this man does his job that don't suit certain people, and it's nothing but a power struggle with this. It's been the last 12 years. And so I think that we should come together and do the job we're voted in to do, and that's to make policies, not to get rid of him, not to get rid of these guys back here. That's not our job. The mayor and aldermen are to make policies, not to hire and fire. You don't have that opportunity.
Vice mayor's comments.
I have nothing to say.
Alderman comments.
Yes, when I sat down here, I know this was on my desk here. What's this about? I didn't know.
This is what,
Yeah.
this is what I handed out because I was accused of attempting to do something against the Sunshine Law. As I stated, I had contacted a lawyer at MTS. She said I had done nothing wrong as long as I was trying to do fact finding that was with Fred Arnold. She said you didn't get into trouble if you have these type of meetings if there is deliberation that takes place during that meeting. I told the lady there would be no deliberation because we know.
Is it legal to talk about a sitting board member? Can we do that, or?
I don't see there being any law against it. I mean, it's just an elected. You're talking about an elected official. I mean, I think that is true.
Okay.
Yeah. That we don't. There's nothing in our ethics code that would prevent, aldermen talking about each other. So.
This is on Facebook, not each other.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying there's nothing that prevents any of y'all from talking about one another. I mean, it's not an ethical violation, and it's not like we don't have.
Let it go over your head.
We don't have a decorum rule or anything like that. So.
I just wanted my name cleared though because I did talk to the attorney.
Right.
I had nothing to hide.
I don't think you've done anything wrong.
Okay. Alderman McLean.
Yeah, I'd like to thank all the board members that bashed me on Facebook. I've not opened my mouth the first time about firing anybody, hiring anybody, but I sure got accused of it, and thank you all a whole lot.
That's right. You should talk to your father-in-law about who he's calling.
My position, this is just my opinion on some of your big projects. If you would involve the board, such as maybe the sewer plant, get them involved just a little more, feed them a little more information if you're ready. That's all I have. Thanks.
Alderman Gibson.
I appreciate everybody coming out and staying with us tonight. And the only comment I have is that I think we really need to look at as a board a way to address this agenda issue. We can't do this every week.
No.
That's why we have deadlines of when stuff goes on the agenda, barring emergencies. We need to be able to have everybody should know what we're talking about before we even come to the meeting. Have your information, do your fact finding, do your due diligence, however you want to say it. That should be done by the end of the workshop. That we should not be getting here because understand emergency situations happen, but there's a lot of information on here that require a lot of decisions we couldn't even closely get to. So to have more efficient meetings, I think as in the future we need to look at putting some type of process in effect of putting things on the agenda.
Let me
That's
add
my
something
opinion.
to yours, John. When we started having the workshops, everything that was supposed to be on the meeting following that, the BMA meeting like tonight, it was supposed to be put on the agenda that night. And nothing new jumped up
So
because
that's the spirit of the workshop. I don't know if that's always the case, but that's what the workshop was.
Like you said, unless it's an emergency.
That
So we
don't
need
work
to
that
stick
way.
to, yes, it does,
Well-
if you'll just make it work.
Alderman Gillum, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, Roach, I'm gonna refer to that. If you don't wanna put something at the workshop, you don't have to.
That's correct.
And the MTS will tell you that, you don't have to do that. That's somebody's rules they want. That's not the way I play the game. I might go home and forget to do it, and I have to see him or call him up or send him a message.
We've talked about it. You have the authority to place items on the agenda.
Yep.
So, I don't
Because
disagree.
that gives you time to, when you discuss it on the workshop, that gives you 2 weeks. If you'll take your,
Can't see it.
give you 2 weeks to study that to see if you wanna vote on it or not.
Well, I'll turn it in when I get ready to, for the meetings.
All right. Alderman Fleischauer.
I already said what I had to say.
I have no comments.
I don't have any comments either.
Do I hear a motion to close this?
Wait a minute, what's this?
I don't know.
I gave you that because that's, everybody needs that, and you need to pass it
I
out
do
to,
need to make one.
the people
Question?
that live in our community,
Yeah,
because
yeah, I
it's
can-
the laws that the Tennessee
We
says
have-
about the drain.
Alderman Gilliam has one additional comment.
You know, most of the time we sit downstairs like a bunch of little squirrels sitting in there and it's crowded. So what I'm saying is we should bring the meeting up here each time.
I suspect we will have some lively meetings up here. So, yeah, we will hold meetings up here.
All right, so now the mayor's requested a motion to adjourn.
You didn't have anything.
Good.
Do I have a second?